Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife, and I am super excited about this episode for the fabulous 4th of July. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with a military spouse in regards to her experience with immigration and becoming a citizen, and just her perspective on being a military spouse in our country, having come from another country. And it was so amazing, and I cannot wait to share it with you today. As always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you are listening to Life of a Military Wife. So, as I was saying in the intro, it is the fabulous 4th of July this week. And just because we've had a really erratic summer and not a lot of family time, I wanted to be able to dedicate the majority of the 4th of July weekend to family stuff. And my husband and I were talking about the podcast episode, and I wanted it to just be something special because I have been feeling really strongly about how much I love and am grateful for being a military spouse and how it's just a very different experience when you're in the military. There's so many people I have had the privilege to meet from other countries who have come here either as military spouses or as service members and have become citizens of our country and are serving alongside my husband and sacrificing for this country. And I don't feel like their amazing, wonderful contributions get highlighted enough. And so I threw it out there to a bunch of people, and I was able to find someone who had the time to sit down and talk to me about her experience. Her name is Sam as well. And we have this wonderful conversation about what it was like for her to come to the United States, to have kind of a dual identity in some ways, but almost like a triple identity now with the military layer on top of it. And a transition to a different culture and be a military spouse now and just what it means to her. And it was a really fabulous conversation. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm just going to turn it over and you can hear it for yourself. So let's dig in. So it's going to be really fun today because it's Sam and Sam. So Sam, my wonderful guest for today, she's going to introduce herself to you all.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me online today. Like she said, my name is Sam, Sam Labar, and I am happy to be here. Excited to talk a little bit about my experience in this country and where I've come from and the things that I love about this country. So, to start off, I was born in Monterrey, Mexico. I lived there until I was 10 years old and moved to the US in 2000. And so we moved to Dallas, Texas. I feel like I am a Texan native. Honestly, once you move to Texas and you just become a Texan right away. And so Texas is a whole nother thing. And I love it. I grew up here. I say that I grew up here in Texas, but we've moved around a lot. Lived in Utah, lived in Colorado, lived in Florida. So I love as part of being a part of the military, that's been one of my favorite things is the moving around, getting to know different people, getting to know our community, the membership in the church that we belong to as well is being able to move around and having the military community as well as the church community has been wonderful. It definitely is a different lifestyle, and I have loved every single minute of it. And so I'm happy to be here and excited to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you. I'm really so grateful that you responded to my Facebook inquiry when I threw out this topic and what I was thinking about doing. We've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really incredible people who are immigrants to our country, who have joined the military and got their citizenship through that program, or they have spouses or family who
Hmm.
have become citizens. And so I really wanted to see if I could find someone who'd be willing to talk about their experience. And so I'm glad you said you would be. You got here when you were 10. When did you start the process towards citizenship?
The process for me actually didn't start until I married my husband. Before we started with just a traveling visa and then moved into a student visa, which was it's actually a lot harder than most people realize. And so ended up doing a student visa. And then when I met my husband, we got married. And then because he's a US citizen, gained my citizenship through him. And so the process for that it's easier than I thought it would be. Just because I've ever since moving to this country, we just made it a point to always do things as legal as possible, as right as possible. So as soon as I could, I started paying taxes. As soon as I could, just do everything as um, as legal as possible. And so, which that is something that I do appreciate. A lot of people don't know that the government does allow you um, to pay taxes and do things the right way. And so I think that was one of the reasons why my process was a little bit easier um, in that regard. It took maybe about 6 months for the whole process to go through. The interview probably took like 3 minutes, and it's just review all the information. And so one of the biggest um, pieces of advice that I received when we first, or my family received when we first moved into the country was don't take advantage. Try to do things the right way, try to do things the legal way, stay out of trouble, and just enjoy the blessings that this country has to offer, but also give back. And so that is how we decided to live our lives. And like I said, as soon as that I was able to pay taxes, we started paying taxes. We wanted to do things the right way. And so, like I said, the process was easy. I didn't have any, thankfully, didn't have any criminal background, nothing to really worry about. And so I felt like I was welcome with open arms when the process started. And so this was before my husband joined the military. And so um, I, once he joined, it was good to not have fear of, oh, you're going to have some sort of issue with me. And so that was good that we were able to do it before he joined the military. I have had friends that have done it while they're in the military, and there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of help. Again, because this country has a lot to offer. And so, and if you are doing service to this country, it pays you back. It blesses you back.
Yeah.
So,
It it's so true there. We really do love having people come to this country who want to serve and contribute
hmm
and bring and brighten what we have. And that is really such a wonderful thing that I love that you highlighted. And the fact that there are military spouses, there's so many resources if
hmm
you are already a military spouse and you're working on your citizenship. But
yes.
if you're not, I love the key point you made. You had no criminal record. You'd
hmm
always try to do things right. That is huge.
hmm
If you've always tried to do things right and you've always tried to live within the law, the process is going to be better.
Right.
I know the process is different for every country. There's going to be people, I'm sure there'll be someone listening who's like,
hmm
well, yeah, it was easy because of XYZ. Yes, I get the immigration
hmm
process and the citizenship process can be more difficult
hmm
depending on your country of origin. I've known enough people from enough countries. I'm aware of that.
Right.
But it's also easier if you're trying to do it right.
hmm
So,
Yeah. So that
what
was
was
that
it
was
like
one of the
studying for this? Oh, wait, go. What were you going to say?
Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say that that's one of the big things. The process itself, we attempted the process in Mexico, And if that is one thing that we've pushed, even with my representatives, like call them, I'm only one person. I can't really do much with the laws, but that's one of the things that I'm really vocal about is um, their system is broken. And so
Yes.
it needs to be fixed, not just completely getting rid of. And so it starts with the
Yes.
people voicing it. It starts with highlighting the good things about it. And so I think we just need to find common ground because you're right, it's not the same for every country. It's really hard for some people. I remember at some point we were required to have over $200,000 in the bank,
Wow.
and so we needed to find a different way about it because if you're coming to this country to find live the American dream, you don't come with $200,000 in the bank. And so, but where there's a will, there's a way, and lots of prayer, lots of faith in the
Yeah.
Lord, and like I said, we were guided to do things as legal as possible, to have as clean of a record as possible, because um, that's the way to do it.
It is. And you're right. The system can use fixing. It
Hmm.
can use improving. My husband was talking to one of his friends who's from, I think, Brazil. Originally, he's in the military. And he was like, I get the process is broken, but you're in medical. So what do you, the first thing you do is you triage. We've got
Yeah.
to stop the bleeding.
Yep.
We've got to close down the borders and we've got to start. And then we have if we're not spending all this money on processing illegal immigrants and housing illegal immigrants and giving them food and money and all these things because they came here with nothing
Hmm.
because we're not heartless. If we can cut down on how much we're spending on that, then we could start spending on improving the process for those who are coming
Correct.
legally. And then more people could come legally.
Hmm.
And then they wouldn't have to worry about, am I going to get deported or is my family member or anything like that? They wouldn't have that
Exactly.
stress. They would have the
Hmm.
peace of mind of knowing that they have rights and protections because they followed the law. And
Exactly.
I think that the sense of compassion in that some people have kind of gets lost in rhetoric because I have I, I have some Native American ancestors, but most of my family's immigrated. So I'm
Hmm.
as much of an immigrant initially as someone like yourself who was born in another country. I have family who immigrated from Italy and from Ireland and from
Hmm.
lots of different countries, and so does my husband. There is compassion, there's understanding. This is a country where we want people to be blessed.
Right.
But at the same time, you only have a functioning country if everyone plays by the rules. So
Exactly. Exactly. And
thank you.
so
So now being part of the military, is what's that been like for you guys? Like, how do you feel now being a military spouse and being an immigrant to the US? What's that like?
it's a lot of contradicting emotions, I will say sometimes, because I love my culture. I love a lot of things about the Mexican culture. But also having a spouse that has sacrificed, and I myself have sacrificed a lot for this country. I can't, like, that's a big part of our lives, and so my heart is American, and so as well as it is Mexican, but I can't. I'm here, and I can't. Um, it's one of the big things is I can't wave around a Mexican flag in the US, because I'm in the US. My husband fights for American rights. My husband sacrifices for that. And the sacrifices that we do, that we have as spouses as well. And so I have learned to appreciate what this country has to offer and still honor my culture, still honor my heritage. I still um, pay tribute to a lot of the things that my ancestors did, and even my family does now. But I had to learn to not offend one culture with another, and so it is it's hard. It's having to separate and it's having to teach people and educate people as well. Is just because I'm singing the national anthem doesn't mean I'm spitting on my culture. Doesn't mean that I'm hating on something else. You know, you can love both. You can appreciate both. You can have um, empathy for both. And so I that has been it has been hard, but I've I'm grateful to have learned that because um, I do have a lot of respect for this country, but I also have a lot of respect for my culture. And so, but
Yeah.
yeah, it has taken a lot of educating people, and there's a lot of judgment too. There's a lot of oh, this person completely forgot their roots, and I speak perfectly good Spanish. I can eat tacos all the time, and I visit my country and I try to better Mexico as much as I can, as well as the US. Like
Mhm.
um I value both. And so I think one of the things that's hard for people is to put that into perspective. Like you can honor both, you can
Yeah.
have yeah, you can have respect for both.
Yeah. My mom was raised in an Italian American community,
Hmm.
largely Italian. They all spoke the language and all that stuff. My siblings and I were the first generation in not raised in an Italian
Hmm.
community in the US. And it was really hard for me to try to explain to my classmates and stuff. I am totally an American. I'm nationally an American. I am ethnically an Italian.
Exactly.
I I love my ethnicity. I love my family history. I love that part of me, but I am completely grateful to the blessings my family's received by coming to the United States.
Exactly.
We have been able to accomplish and achieve and learn and grow and do things here that we would have never been able to do in Italy. And
Hmm.
it's not that I don't love Italy and I don't love the sacrifices my ancestors made in Italy and I don't love the culture. I wish I still spoke the language. That is one thing we lost moving out of an Italian community. I'm working on my Italian. It's not great. It's actually really bad. So bad.
Oh
Um,
no.
so don't let your kids lose the Spanish. Please don't. That's
No,
what I tell everyone.
no.
I'm the first generation that didn't really learn any. And I wish we had kept the language. So keep your language, keep your culture, keep your ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay to be American too. It is so okay to be American too.
It's
And
okay to be patriotic.
yeah, well, and that was so hard trying to help people understand.
Hmm.
I was like, I love America. I love Italy. I can love both.
Yep.
I am an American. If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick America. But that doesn't mean I don't love Italy still.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You brought up the language. My son is 5, and up until he was 3 years old, we only spoke Spanish to him. My husband learned
Good.
Spanish, and he's also of Italian heritage. He speaks Italian. He loves
Good for
languages.
him.
He loves learning about other cultures. So he speaks German and is learning Japanese, and so we are a multicultural, multi-language household. So I did want to make sure that my son knew how to speak Spanish fluently, and there was no um, that was a decision that my husband and I made right away, and so I'm grateful that he agreed with me on that. He didn't speak as much Spanish as he does now, and so he learned along with with my son, and it was great. I mean, it brought us closer. There's a lot that my son is able to convey and kind of feel close with his Mexican family, and so he
Mhm.
he's able to honor that culture. But he knows he's American, and so is he was born here, and so. But yeah, that was a big thing for us. Is you'll learn Spanish. It's only going to help you. And so I don't judge those that don't want to teach their kids the language. To each their own. But it has been a big blessing for us for him to have learned a different language, and it's just opened him more. He's only 5.5, and he's like, oh, I want to learn German, and he tries and he wants to. And so I think it has molded his character into somebody more empathetic, and so more open to people and understanding. We, like I said, we travel a lot, and he doesn't expect people to speak his language. He is able to communicate with people and attempt to communicate sign language and attempt to have conversations with them. And so I wish more people thought about the benefits of that, thought about the benefits of teaching your mother language. And so definitely I am um, a big supporter of that.
Yeah, it's learning that language is so important. I wish we'd kept it. So my mom, her thing was her family had lived pretty much in the same Italian community ever since they had
Oh,
immigrated, and it had
cool.
been several generations. And so she kind of started to take it a little bit easy, relaxed. She's like, oh,
Hmm.
I'm always going to have this opportunity. It's always going to be around. And so she didn't really prioritize it for herself.
Hmm.
So she could understand it, but she couldn't speak it or read it or write it.
Got
And then when she moved away and was raising kids without that support structure that she just thought she was going to have,
it.
it was so difficult for her to teach us. And so she tried to teach us what she could, and she
Hmm.
tried to teach us the Spanish she knew. And she's like, if I can teach you anything, and then it'll help you, because the more you know languages, the easier it is to add on to it. And so my husband and I speak Spanish because we served missions for our church, so we're Spanish speaking.
Oh,
And
cool.
so his family's German and my family's Italian, and we both lost the language. So we're at least trying to teach our kids Spanish
That's
with the
awesome.
English. And so that hopefully someday they can start picking up Italian. And our church has this really cool app. It's called Embark, where you can learn foreign languages for free. And so my oldest son, just got his first cell phone. It's very limited, very controlled, but Embark is one of those approved apps. And so we were setting it up, I'm like, "What language do you want to learn?" He's like, "Italian," and I'm like, "Yay!" It just
Perfect.
made me so happy. So we're trying to do family history now because family history is so important to
Hmm.
me. And my husband, his family is really great at it. They've got so much done. But we have so much Italian we're still trying to work on. And so we've been saving to go to Italy to do research in person. And now I'm
That's
panicking because I
awesome.
don't speak the language. And so I'm like, "Ee." So I'm trying to work on that. But there's so many reasons why it's important to still keep our culture, even though we
Hmm.
love America and even though we
Hmm.
love, like, I love my husband and the service he's given to our country. And he's had lots of people in his family serve. And so the military is really near and dear to my heart. But at the same time, it's one of those things where just because it's near and dear to my heart. You're right. I can still love Italy. I can still love all of that. And I'm still like, I loved working with the Hispanic people on my mission for my church. I loved being able to learn Spanish and learn how to make all the different food from the different countries. I love I loved teaching them. That was one of the favorite things we would do is I'm like, okay, you teach me how to make empanadas and I'll teach you how to make lasagna. And like we would do
Oh
like switching,
my
like it was so great. We had so many people open up and let us into their homes and get to know us. And we were
God.
able to talk to them about Jesus and what we believe and Christ because through food. And it was
Yeah.
because I had that culture, I could
Hmm.
share it with them. And so I've learned to love the whole Hispanic community. And it wasn't until after my mission that I found out I had Indigenous American, Native American, but it was from Latin America. It was from Mexico in my
Oh,
DNA. And
where
so there was
in,
a reason why I felt connections. That
very
yeah, and
cool.
it was so wonderful. I got to work with people in over 20 different Spanish speaking countries
Oh,
and
wow.
all the different food and the customs and
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
just the changes in the language. My husband teases me because every now and then when I start talking to someone from my mission or from the Dominican, like my
Hmm.
accent will change in Spanish to match
Yeah,
because that's what I learned to do on the mission was adapt
right.
my accent to. And so I'm always changing my accent. And he's like, ugh, because he served in Mexico. And he's like, he's like, you just sound weird. He's like, the Mexico's the better accent. Because so we have these little
Yep.
arguments back and forth and stuff. But yeah, he
I
served his
feel that
mission in Mexico.
definitely. I definitely feel that. We definitely think that our Spanish is superior. And so,
I think
although
every
when I was in college, I one of my degrees was Spanish translation, so I did Spanish linguistics, and my professors were very adamant. Mexican Spanish is not the best. You need to learn Spanish, and so yep, it
yeah.
was like that's number one you gotta learn. And so I just always gritted my teeth, but it's I've learned to speak all different types of Spanish. So
You have to in the US
yeah,
because we've got so many different countries. It's important to
exactly,
be flexible.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I it was just such a wonderful experience and I love the people I met and worked with.
Hmm.
And so I've always had that. And so then getting into the military and getting to meet more people from all these different countries
Yes.
and getting to have them in my home and share food and teach each other and raise
Hmm.
our kids together and sometimes they have the same religion and sometimes they have a different religion, but we've got this common culture of the military that brings us
Exactly.
together.
Exactly.
And and yeah, there's how many like I've met people from Russia who are military. I've met people from Thailand. We've met people from China. They were all maybe it was in China. Okay, okay, the one chaplain I'm thinking of, I'm glad I didn't say his name. I don't remember what country you were from. I'm sorry. But anyway, we've met people from because people tend to think, okay, maybe it's a lot of Latin Americans, but
Hmm.
I've met people from a lot of different parts of the world who've come to the US and joined the military to get their citizenship because they wanted to be Americans.
Right. And
Have
so,
you had
and the that sentiment is so amazing to me that you are willing to serve another country. Like you believe in the rights that this country has to offer so strongly that you're willing to literally put your life on the line for it. And
in
so,
some cases never get back to your home country?
right. Yeah. And so yeah, that's amazing to me that people are willing to do that. And it speaks volumes to what America has to offer, but also you have to understand that these other countries, like they we are very blessed. We are very blessed to have the rights that we have. We're very blessed to be able to speak freely. We're very blessed to be able to um, worship freely. And and um, so for somebody to want to fight for that and to sacrifice their life for that, that is great. And so I think that other countries could learn from that, and I'm sure that's why a lot of people do come to the country. Is like we just got to learn the system, and we can bring it back to our own countries. And so I'm also in awe of people that do that. And so,
Yeah. Well, and the whole reason why my husband, he just he kept feeling that draw that he needed to serve. And service is something, military service has existed in his family, but he wasn't a military kid.
hmm.
And so he kept getting that feeling and I'm like, pray about it, fast about it. And then finally he's like, when are you going to ask God? I'm like, I already know the answer and I don't like it. We became a military family. It's the best thing that ever happened
Yeah.
to us. But I then ran into a scripture that's really common in our religion, and
Hmm.
talks about a time period where they needed to defend themselves. And it's not that they wanted to go to war and they
Hmm.
wanted to kill people or hurt people, but they had to protect their families. And so they wrote on a flag the
Hmm.
reason why they were doing it. And it was in memory of our God, our religion, our families, and our country and our wives, basically our wives and our
Our lives,
children.
yeah.
I'm you know what I'm
Paraphrasing,
quoting,
yes.
but misphrasing it, but the concept is there. And really, that's what it is for my husband. He's
Hmm.
like, I don't want to kill people. I don't want people to die. I don't want war to happen. He's like,
Hmm.
I would love if all war ended and people could civilly work through their problems and disagreements. Every country could work things out and get along without war or militaries even being necessary. He's like, put
Right,
me out of a job. I'd love it. But as long as there is going to be a need to protect our family, he's like, I want to be one of the people protecting our
right.
family.
Our ideologies, our freedoms. And so,
Hmm. And our right to religion. That's something like, I don't, you know what? I may not agree with your religious beliefs. Maybe I do agree with your religious beliefs. Maybe you have none, but you have that right in
yeah,
the
right.
United States. And I love that this country gives that because that is part of the reason why some of my ancestors came to the US was for religious freedom.
Hmm.
And I think that's really important for the service members nowadays to remember. We're fighting for people's rights to practice their religion too.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yep,
And
for
recognize the
everyone.
people that you're serving with. I think that's very big. A lot of the times there's this misconception that it's only American born people fighting for the rights and they're so patriotic and are blinded to other cultures. And it's not true. I mean, I think I have met more um, cultural backgrounds in the military than anywhere else. And I've traveled a lot. And so I think that um, there's that misconception that it's just one race, if you will, fighting for those rights, and it isn't. It isn't. There's the military is very multicultural.
Very much. It very much is. And that's the great thing is we can be so different and we can still be a family.
Hmm.
And I think that is one of the magical things about America is you can be from Mexico and I can have a largely Italian background and we can still be Americans.
Right.
We can it it's just the variety is the spice of life in America.
Hmm.
It's what makes living in America so fun, is because we have these things in common, but we also have lots of things not in common. So we
Right.
can learn and grow from each other.
Hmm. And it's about finding the commonalities. I mean, in our church, that's one of the things that we're encouraged to do is find what brings you together. First and foremost, find what brings you together, and then you can teach each other about everything else. You can teach each other about your cultures and your different beliefs, and how you even experience those different beliefs, how you even live those different beliefs. And so, but the most important thing is find something common, find something that brings you together. Um, that's
Yes,
what I really
exactly.
appreciate about I mean, the military has allowed that is, first we're serving together, and then you can find other things.
Exactly. Well, for anybody who's interested in finding out more about maybe your insurance company or what you do, is there anything do you want to share your contact information or let people know? Here's your chance to
Sure.
shout yourself out.
Sure. So we're located in Plano, Texas. Like I said, I've been in business for 14 years, and so we mainly focus on commercial insurance. We do some personal as well, but our main focus and growth is in commercial insurance. So for any of your commercial insurance needs, trucking, any businesses that anybody needs covered, I'm happy to help. It is one of my passions. I started doing insurance when I was 16 years old, and so we have grown. It is a family business, so we are family here, happy to help and service. And I have other businesses, but this is pretty much my passion is educating people about insurance and making sure that you're covered. And so I'm sure Sam will put my I'll give her my contact information if anybody wants to shoot me an email or has any request. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I'll put it in the contact information or sorry, the description. Haha. The episode description below. You can go and check it out. I'll have the information. If you're in the Plano, Texas area and you're needing assistance with that, please feel free to reach out to Sam. It's been really fun having Sam and Sam. This has been quite the experience today. But yeah, I thank you. It's really interesting that I love the fact that you feel passionate about what you're doing and it's
Mhm.
insurance. Not everyone feels passionate about insurance.
I know.
And this is why we need lots of different
Yeah.
people. We need lots of different people who are good at lots of different things, who get excited
Yeah.
about lots of different things, because that's how we make this like community, this world keep going.
And
And so,
I'll say a little something about that. My insurance is mainly like our business is mainly like 80% Hispanics,
Mhm.
And the reason I'm passionate about it is because we are a culture that likes to do business face to face. And
Yes.
being able to educate people on this is what you need to carry legally, this is what you need to be able to stay in good standing, like I said, in this
Mhm.
country. And so being able to educate and explain to them, and like I said, face to face is a big thing in our culture. So being able to say to them like this is what you're paying for, this is the coverages that you're paying for, and having them understand the reason why we need things and the reason why we need certain coverages and the reason why the laws are enacted the way that they are. And so that's one of the reasons I am passionate about it, because a lot of the times we have this feeling like, oh, why do I have to do this, or why is there this law, or why, and these laws are here to protect us. And so being able to educate somebody
Exactly.
on that, being able to educate them, like it's for the better of the community. It's
Yep.
for the best. And so,
And it'll help keep you safe. Like,
exactly.
and that's important because, again, when people are coming to a country for the first time, they don't always understand because countries operate differently.
Mm-hmm.
I got the opportunity to go down twice and for a service project and a cultural exchange down to Mexico. And they made sure very clearly when I was going down, here's all the documentations, here's how you should
Mm-hmm.
handle things. You're going to be staying in someone else's home. Here's the different cultural norms. Here's how to be polite and respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me going down to Mexico. I wanted to know those things so that I could show my appreciation to the
Exactly.
people we were working with.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need, you can always improve, but I think it's important when you're going to another country to try to understand those things because it also keeps you safe
Right.
and
And I think
that's an
that's what
important thing.
that gets misconstrued or misinterpreted whenever people say you're coming to this country, assimilate. And so I think they mean that like they people think that it means forget everything about your country. Now you have this completely new different personality and and it's not that. It's not that. It's just learn what's needed here, and that's it. Same thing as you when you go to any other country. You learned what's needed to be safe in that country, what's respectful in that country, and so we'll just be happier that way.
Oh yeah, I always make sure when I travel, I've got my documentation, I've got all
Mhm.
my like permits. I'm doing things the right way. I'm not driving if I'm not allowed to drive in that area
Mhm.
without if I need to get a special license, then I'll get that. And as military spouses, we will sometimes go, our spouses will go
Mhm.
international or will go international. And so I feel like in the military community, that just kind of clicks. And so we
Right.
kind of don't always realize that not everyone realizes that.
Mhm.
Not everyone's traveled as much as we have. Not everyone else realizes, every country plays the game differently. And if you're going to
Mhm.
be there, you need to know how they play the game.
Exactly.
So. Well, thank you so much for taking this time to do
Of
this last
course.
minute. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful getting to talk to you. And just again, thank you so much for what you're doing and for sharing, being willing to just talk about your experience.
Happy to help. Happy to be here.
I want to say one last thank you to Sam for being willing to last minute come on the show and talk about her experience immigrating to the United States and becoming a United States citizen and then a military spouse. It was wonderful to hear her story and get to just talk about those things with her. There is so much that I learned from all of the wonderful members of the military community that come on this show, and I am grateful for all of them. If you are a military spouse, a veteran, or someone affiliated with the military community, and you would like to come on the show and talk about what you're doing or what your experiences are, or things like that, please feel free to reach out and let me know what you're doing. If you're a veteran, I would love to record your story for you, for your family. And if you're willing to let me share it on the show, that would be great. This podcast couldn't exist without all of you and your support. So please remember to like, subscribe, comment, click it, stick it to the algorithm, share this out with your friends because that is how we grow as a community. And that is how I am able to share all of these wonderful stories and experiences and information with you. whether you're a member of the military community or not. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. As always, let's be the good that we want to see in the world. And I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.